What's up, everybody? Welcome to the TinkerTribe podcast. I am your host, Greg Dowd. Tonight, I have with me a local buddy of mine. We met through the freedomcell network. His name's Logan Hyde. He has a channel on YouTube, hydeawayhomestead. Logan, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Doing good, man. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Thanks for being here, brother. So, what I like to do with all of my first time guests is have you kind of tell us your origin story on how you came to start your channel on YouTube. You got the Hideaway Homestead channel, and you're doing all kinds of neat stuff with. I see you're raising ducks and rabbits and you've got, permaculture principle stuff going on, and you're just sharing a lot of the stuff that you're working on with people. So yeah, what brought you to, wanting to kind of live this lifestyle, kind of be more independent and self-reliant?
Yeah, so I guess we'd have to go back pretty far. As a kid, I grew up in an extremely small town. Really a big lover of nature. I know growing up, I was also homeschooled, and so I had the opportunity to grow up and live in a very traditional household. My dad worked, my mom stayed at home. Extremely blessed with that, and just living out in the country was where it all started. I think being in that realm of away from the cities is the best way I know how to describe it. It's what first sparked my love for just being self sufficient, because you can't not or you can't live in the country and not be somewhat self sufficient in some little way. So it all started when I was probably about 15, 16 years old. I don't think I even had a job just yet, like an actual, one where the government gets their lovely cut of your paycheck. It was, just earning money doing stuff around here. And I tore down an old porch for someone. Or, well, no, let me correct that. My neighbor tore down a deck is what it was. And I had some of my parents' deck that they tore down. And I said I was going to build a chicken coop. And I remember my mom was kind of like, yeah, that's great or whatever. So I went out and I got tools and everything. I borrowed my dad's tools. He wouldn't allow me to use any of his power tools, I think, because he was afraid I was going to tear them up. And so I built a chicken coop, and I went and I got my first little flock of chickens. I got a trio. They were Jersey Giants. I had a rooster and two hens. And so I really got bit by the bug right there. Just keeping animals was the bomb. There was nothing more that I wanted. While all my other buddies were out buying video games, I was collecting chickens. I got to where I had about 120 or so of different breeds, all different trios and pairs. And I got into the Bantam stuff, and just, I was a chicken addict. I was, the like an old cat lady. I mean, I just had all these chickens. And I got super bit by the bug, learned about Joel Salatin and his regenerative farming. And at 16, I was like, I'm going to be in the egg business. And so I've got my little electrified fence, and I built a little coop to pull the chickens around and, to pasture them and everything. And after that, I went and I served a LDS mission down in Honduras for 2 years. Learned Spanish down there, obviously, because, you can't really live in a country for that long. And have to interact with people and not learn a language. So I got back and, wow, immediately wanted to get into homesteading and doing everything that I was doing before I left.
Wow. So you were down there. You were down there for like 2 years solid.
2 years solid. Yep.
Oh, wow.
2 years solid. And it was an extreme eye opener. I think that every young person, whether it's a religious or whether it's, going and studying or just living in another country, everybody should leave the U.S. for at least a short period of time, as a young person, because you just don't realize how blessed you are here. I know we've got our problems. The U.S. has got a lot of issues, especially right now. But at the same time, there's so many places that have it worse in different ways. Every place has its pros and its cons, but really, really loved the people of Honduras. Really learned a lot from living down there. I got back and I met my wife online. She's Venezuelan. We got married and got 2 kids now. And it was kind of she was kind of a city girl, more or less. And she has slowly turned into a little homesteading girl. So it took a lot of me constantly, doing stuff to encourage her. But she's more of she wants to cook and can and do other stuff like that. So which I don't care about. I couldn't care less about canning, but she's into that. So it's going to be great for our homestead. We bought a 9-acre property, and I remember it was when she was pregnant with our oldest daughter. She's 4 now. Oh, Camila, wow. She was pregnant with her, and I said, look, we got to do something different. I said, I don't want to live in this apartment. I don't want to live in a house in Coleman. So we started looking around, and I said, why don't we do this? I said, why don't we get a camper and we live on my parents' property? They've got 3 acres. While we find something and I can build something, because I'm a carpenter, so I've got the skill to do it. And she was kind of like, okay, which really surprised me because
she was on board for that.
When we first got married, it was, like, no way, whatever. But then she went for it, and we got into our camper, and we have done camper life for the past 4 years. And
oh, wow.
It's had its struggles, but it's also been a blessing, and it's really opened our eyes to just how silly some homes are built nowadays, especially considering I do custom cabinets for a living. And so I go into a lot of homes. I go into places that are getting remodeled and places that are new construction. And so we've got to really look at how we want our house designed and where the space needs to be allocated, and what's really important. And the really important things is like our grandparents and our great grandparents did. They had a big living room / dining room kitchen area, and then they had small bedrooms. So that's what we're doing. The house is under construction right now. We're trying to get onto that property and then move our Noah's Ark to that property. But
yeah.
Long story short, it's been a long ride.
Wow,
getting to where we are now.
Wow, that's incredible. So yeah, wow, you had the bug from a very early age of getting into raising animals. So it sounds like raising animals was your gateway drug to this kind of way of living.
Absolutely.
Me too, man. Like once I started to raise my own chickens, I'm like, this is amazing, getting the eggs. And I think even Joel Salatin, you mentioned him, he talks about how the chicken is the gateway drug into homesteading. Yep. And living more of this type of lifestyle. So tell me about what you got going on right now. You see that you're currently raising some rabbits and muscovy ducks.
Mm-hmm.
And why did you want to raise those animals in particular?
I absolutely love meat. And I love to eat different types of meat. So I got into the rabbits just because they're one of the few animals that it's easy for somebody to completely be independent from the feed store in a pretty short period of time. Now, that being said, I've mentioned on my channel a lot that I do buy pellets. Pellets are cheap, and but I am implementing and getting fodder system started. It's going to be low maintenance, because the thing is I think you can get into the whole, I can make my own rabbit feed, but then you make your system to where it's too much work when you could just go and buy a bag of pellets. So really trying to get the systems tuned in, get the right fodder trees that they're going to really do well on. Mulberry is a huge one. Anytime actually my first bunch of rabbits were raised about 50% on mulberry,
Oh
and
wow.
so yeah, they were raised up there for a while on pretty much on nothing but mulberry leaves, and I was really interested in that because I want to be as self sufficient as I possibly can, or and having them and being able to kind of leave the feed store behind is my main goal. Another reason is because I'd always heard that rabbit tastes like chicken. It
Mm-hmm.
does, it does and it does not taste like chicken. It's like a better chicken to me.
Hmm.
And it kind of like chicken takes on the flavors of pretty much whatever you season it with.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've had rabbit stew before, and yeah, it tastes similar to chicken. It's
Yeah.
really good in a stew. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I've eaten it fried. I've eaten it on the grill. I've had it smoked. Pretty much every way. Rabbit broth is wonderful. I love the rabbit broth. But that being said, the third reason was because with rabbits, it is so much easier to process them than chickens. For
Hmm.
one, with chickens, you need a picker, you need a scalder. You got to have some kind of heavy. Well, you don't have to. I have
It
with
makes
my.
it a lot easier. Yeah.
It makes it a lot easier. So when my mother-in-law came to visit, she wanted to eat some yard chickens, and so me and her got out there and killed a few roosters, and scalded them in a bucket with just some hot water that we heated up, and hand plucked them. And I hate doing that. It's just too much work. And so you either got
Yeah.
to buy the equipment, and it's a lot of work. A rabbit, I can process one in about 2 minutes.
Oh
And
wow.
that's from breaking its neck to hanging it up, getting it all off, and getting all the fur off, taking out the guts, and then cutting it out of the little gambrel there, and then throwing it in the cooler. Like, I mean, it's super fast.
Yeah.
That's the main reason for rabbits. Now with the muscovies, my favorite meat is beef. I love beef. The thing is, beef right now is ridiculously high. I mean, you want a good steak, you're gonna pay for it. And
Mm-hmm.
I've always thought about, like, well, I could raise my own cows, but we live on a forested 9 acres, and cows are big. Cows are a lot of work. The Muscovy duck is a lot of times compared to beef. To me, it's better. I like Muscovy better than I do beef.
Oh wow.
And so having these little guys run around, and two, they're so self-sufficient. They go out every morning. I give them just a little bit of corn, and they go out every morning and they graze. They go and they eat bugs. Um, I am amazed at the stuff they eat. They eat all types of plants. I've got videos of them eating a lot of water hyacinth that I grow, but I've seen stuff just like false Solomon seal. I don't know if you know what that is. It's a little perennial plant that a lot of people just use to decorate around, landscaping around their house. And they were eating the leaves of those. I mean, they just eat everything,
Oh
and
wow.
you don't have to feed them that much. The other thing is they raise their own babies. I don't know if you've ever incubated chicks. I used to be really good at it when I was a teenager, because I'd incubate so many and I got it down to science. But incubating chicks is work. Brooding chicks is work. You're not always going to get broody hens. I know there's people that say, oh, well, this breed's real broody and that breed's real broody. But sometimes even when you got the broody breeds, they don't, sit. They don't go broody. But the Muscovies, you pretty much have to just force them not to have babies. They are gonna do it, and so that's the main reason I've brought those two into our meat program, is because of just how self sufficient we can be with that.
Okay.
So yeah, that's pretty much the reason for them too. They're
Is it a specific breed of rabbit that you're using?
yeah. I use the New Zealand whites. They're really good for meat. They have a really good meat to bone ratio. The bones are real small, and you get a lot of meat on them. So they're an excellent one to raise. Just the regular New Zealand. And there's tons of meat rabbits. that you can get. But the New Zealand's have worked really, really good for me. I've really enjoyed raising the New Zealand's.
I think I saw that you had some kind of a rabbit tractor kind of thing where you can kind of move them
Mm-hmm.
along the grass and everything. So do you have like a way? And I also saw that you had like maybe a place where you're breeding them. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So you do like kind of a separation where you have the breeders and then you have the ones that are kind of out on the grass.
Yeah. So I have a specific way of raising the rabbits that's pretty much like what Joel Salatin, or well, Daniel Salatin, his son, advocates, is keeping your breeders up in cages and then raising your meat rabbits out on grass. Now, I don't always raise them out on grass. I've had two different little rabbit tractors that I've run, and the one that's in the video is one that I had just built. I had another one that was a little 2 by 4 foot rabbit tractor, and it just wouldn't hold that big of a litter of rabbits. And so I went ahead and built one just a little bit bigger, and give them a little more room. But the thing is, I had like a group of 10 in there, and there really wasn't enough. I still had a hopper full of pellets, and I was moving them twice a day.
Hmm.
So my plan in the future, if I continue to pasture any of them, will be to um, build much larger pens. I'm thinking something like an 8 by 8 or even a 10 by 10
Oh, really?
rabbit tractor. Yeah, to be able to move them once a day and make sure that they have plenty of access to forage on the ground. Because that's the thing, and I've talked a lot about how there's some people have made comments that they have a hard time keeping weight on their rabbits when you're doing just grass or pasture or tree hay. And really and truly, we've got to think about what's in our soils, whether or not the plants are getting the nutrition that they need, so that way they can pass that nutrition on to the rabbits. So it's about getting minerals into the soil and connecting that cycle, and also feeding the plants they need. A wild rabbit can run anywhere it wants to and eat anything that it wants to. So it's going to know what to go and get and what to eat to make sure that it has the minerals and the nutrition that it needs to grow its body.
Hmm.
When we put them up in a pen, they don't have that option. So we've got to make sure that we give them, something. If it's putting them on pasture that's not that great or just on your lawn, hey, throw in some high quality, high protein tree hay in there along with them. Do something, or give them the pellets and let them improve the grass that they're on. That way, next year you can come back through and feed less pellets and less pellets and less pellets. The tractors work great. Now, I've seen lots of people that keep rabbits in colonies, and I've seen people that keep them in just tractors. They keep their breeders in there too. So I'm not going to say that anybody's wrong for doing that. I've just always heard so many people have problems with parasites and stuff with their breeders, and I think there's ways to get around all that, because obviously there's people that are doing it successfully. So I'm not going to sit here and say that they're wrong, because there it is, they're doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. So the thing that is interesting to me about rabbits was like apparently the pioneers, I guess, really raised rabbits because they can breed so quickly, and I do think they are a good source of that protein and everything. If times do get tough or whatever, because you know you can turn around and get a new meat rabbit. What is it, like 8 weeks or something like that? Every 8 weeks you can kind of harvest, or what can you say about that?
So I think that most people who are honest about how fast their rabbits grow out, it's normally anywhere from maybe about 10 to 16 weeks
Okay.
is what you're looking at. I know one gentleman that ran a commercial rabbitry, and dude man had formulated his own feed. He knew to a T what went in there, took it to the the feed processor, and had them custom mix his feed. And the guy who butchered all the rabbits told him that his was the only ones that were getting in there at 8 weeks, because all the others, because you were supposed to do, I think it was at 5 pounds is what the target weight was. And he said he had a way, like, he'd look at the meat and say, you see how this looks and that looks and everything. He says, this is an older rabbit. So people were turning them in. They weren't 8 weeks. They were, on up 10, 12 weeks, which is not bad. I mean, so many people want to, get the 8-week turnaround, but really and truly 10 to, 12 weeks is not bad. I mean, that's, really good. I've had a few that were like pretty much like 8, 9 weeks that were really close to 5 pounds, really close. But I don't think I've ever had them, just consistently a whole litter come out, 5 pounds at 8 weeks. You can eat them at 8 weeks if they're not 5 pounds. You're just going to have less of a yield. My yield is about 50%, hanging weight compared to live weight. So,
okay,
if I take a 5 pound rabbit and I cut it up, take out all the organs, no organs inside, just the meat on the bone,
2.5 pounds.
2.5 pounds. Yep. And you'll get that with most of them. By the time they're about 12 weeks, you'll look anywhere from about 4 to 5 pounds in that range, and you'll have anywhere from 2 to 2.5 pounds of meat per rabbit, which is a lot of meat. I mean, if you do 10 rabbits, that's 25 pounds.
Yeah. Yeah, another cool thing about the rabbits, where you're talking about the soil and improving the soil, is that their manure can be directly thrown onto gardens. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I will do my best to not make the whole podcast about rabbit poop, but it's really hard not to, because if you want to have,
we're going down the rabbit hole.
Name it, what's that?
We're going down the rabbit hole. Literally.
We're going down the rabbit hole. It's a hole you may not want to go down, but it's a hole. But the rabbit manure is the greatest thing on this earth for so many different things. I think if you can't, bring yourself to kill Cute Little Thumper or, Peter Cottontail, like, keep rabbits for their manure. Just keep it for, the poop that they're going to drop out. Feed them all your weeds from your garden, and, just enjoy the rabbit poop, because I have put it around so many trees and just watched them flourish. It's the main source for my worm bed. So I have thousands of earthworms that are making just the most beautiful soil, just tons of worm castings, and they're processing it from rabbit manure. You can also use rabbit manure to, if you dry it out, you can feed mealworm or mealyworm, which, however you want to pronounce it, larva with rabbit manure.
Oh, okay.
I've even heard of people feeding catfish, and I've heard that ducks will eat it. Just kind of like the perfect pig food is a cow patty. Who would have thought? So there's so many things you can do with it. It's wonderful for your garden. And the main thing I like doing with it is feeding it to the worms. It just makes more worms. Wow. Unbelievable how much they will reproduce and how much they'll grow on eating the rabbit poop. I'm planning on doing a lot of videos of just me filling up IBC totes full of it and starting, worm farms, and then using those in my growing beds for our nursery that we want to have, growing trees and stuff. So, rabbit manure, I could go on and on about it, but I think that covers the basics right there.
Okay. Yes. We had, this gentleman, Alan Booker, come by one of our Freedom Cell meetings up in Huntsville. And he's like a permaculture designer, and he really was stressing about the importance of getting the soil food web right. And like with most people's soils, you can see like a huge improvement if you basically build the microbiology in the soil. And literally everything the plant needs is supplied by that microbiome in the soil. And we think about like, well, I need to like keep adding all these minerals and things to the soil to like improve it, but literally all you have to do is support that life in the soil, and then you have a thriving plant
Yeah.
and plants around there. So it takes you gotta like compost, you gotta constantly feed the soil, and be able to get all this and keep it non-compacted. That's like a big
Mhm.
issue, is like the compaction of the soil. But once you can get that compost and all that stuff going on in there, and you can start building that microbiological life in there, you've got a really healthy soil, and you can grow all kinds of stuff with it. But it comes with doing stuff like raising animals. So
Yeah. Oh, Alan Booker is a genius. I mean, he's got more knowledge than most of us will probably ever learn about everything.
he is,
Because he's
man.
kind of one of
he
those guys. He just knows about everything.
he
Um,
blows my mind every time I talk to him. He has so much knowledge.
See, I knew he lived in Huntsville, but I didn't know that he was part of the Freedom Cell group, or that he was, in that. That's cool, man. That's cool. Um, yeah, the soul though, yeah, feeding the soul. Which now I think even he's talked about that there are times where there are mineral deficiencies, you know. But yeah, that unlock it. A lot of times your soul has it all, but there's just literally no life in there, and that's kind of why I got into the biochar too. And my plan is to feed the worms the rabbit manure and give them that as a main food source, and then use the char as a grit and let them turn it into biochar, because the
Oh, so
worms
it needs
need grit.
yeah, and the biochar also has to be inoculated. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So you're going to charge that char when it goes through the worm. And here's an even better way to do it: feed it to your rabbits and your ducks, and then take your rabbit and duck poop and any other kind of poop you got. Now, be careful if you keep worms, on putting hot manures in their bed. Try to keep them in a separate spot. The rabbit manure, you can just throw them in that; they don't care. Um, but feed it to your animals, it'll pass through their system and get charged up with everything they got, and then let it go through the worm system, and it'll get charged up with everything they got, and then it goes into the soil, and it's just this superpower of growing plants, because we don't feed plants, we feed the soil, and then the soil feeds the plants. So yeah, you can go down that trail for a very long time. I'm not really good and up, to par on all my soil biology and stuff. I mean, I can't, name a lot of the bacterias and protozoa and everything that live in there. I know enough to get by, but you
Yeah.
can, if you really get into that, it'll make your head hurt, because there's just so much to learn.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's really amazing. I mean, just like we're talking, I'm glad you mentioned biochars, because that is another thing that I'm pretty fascinated with myself. I built a biochar retort just out of like an old steel drum and a metal trash can and a section of chimney pipe, and we made some of our first stuff. And how I've been using it is in my aquaponics setup that I installed up at the makerspace, to actually give like a large surface area for the bacteria to colonize on in that biochar, and then taking that after it's been in that aquaponic system, and then putting it into some potted plants that are here that we've started. Um, so yeah, I as soon as I listened to one of these episodes with Jack Spirko, he had this. I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he had a guy on talking about biochar and all of the great benefits that you can get with it, especially in the soils, because it basically creates that habitat for all those microorganisms to thrive. And, to me, it's like we got to be making as much biochar as we can,
Yeah.
basically. Um,
Yeah. I first learned about biochar from the book Trees of Power by Akiva Silver. He's a real big um, uh, cheerleader for, hey, everybody get out there and make biochar. He talked about how good. He talked about just making it in a cone pit. So that's how I used to do it. Was I would just make it in a cone pit, and I still do. It's really cheap to dig a hole, so you can and you can make a lot of char doing that. And then probably I guess about 8 months later from that first batch that I made, I remember that Jack on the Survival Podcast had his episode on it, and then he had some of the experts on it, and they just brought so much to the table on all the benefits and just different things you can do to make it. And I think that you can get into that, and it's great to learn a lot about it. But heck, just get out there and make some, and then crumble it up as small as you can, and get it into the soil. Now, if anybody that's watching this has never made char before and is not familiar, I will give a warning: don't put it around plants, just as naked char. Like, you need to charge it up with either some manure or something, because it will rob nitrogen from the soil to start out with.
Right.
But yeah, it's amazing stuff, man. Everybody should make some. I think it should be just as common as people having chickens for eggs. Like, we need to have everybody making it and improving our soils, and reversing all this rapey stuff that we've done to the land, because we've done a lot of it.
Yeah, you know what I've been doing is feeding some to my chickens, and throwing it in with their. We've been implementing the chicken tractor on steroid system that Billy Bond talks about on his videos. He's got a whole playlist on YouTube about it. And so that ring where you put all your compostable material, I'll throw some of that biochar in there and let the chickens go through it and eat it, and poop it out, and be able to use it. Basically, as we're moving them through the yard, I'm kind of just like letting them fertilize the yard as they go, and kind of create that inoculated biochar as we move them along the way. I wanted to ask you, so you told me, I guess when we did that mushroom workshop a while back, that you were working on building your own place out on that 9 acres that you got, and I guess you said that you had like a lumber mill that are you cutting down a lot of the trees and milling the lumber for that place you're building?
Yeah. So a couple of years ago, we had a while there just looking for land and getting the right spot. And this is a place where we bought. It was raw land that had no access. I mean, it's it's as pioneer as you can get living in the modern world. You can get to one end of the property and the other end of the property by road, but there's nothing going in. And so we've been developing it from ground zero. Cutting down trees and stuff. I do have a sawmill. I have a band sawmill. It'll mill up to, I think it's 22-inch logs.
Oh, wow.
I mean, so fairly big, but it's they make a lot bigger models to take down some really massive trees. But this is all just a pretty simple one. I got it from Woodland Mills. They're an excellent company. Especially if you're just trying to do a project, or you're a hobby miller, or you want to do custom milling for somebody. It's an excellent company, Woodland Mills. But I actually went to a coworker's property for the time being that had road access, and cleared or cut down some trees that they were going to have cleared. They said, hey, you can have the wood and everything. And so I milled up all that. I'm building, it's kind of a cross between a, kind of like what Paul Wheaton's doing with the Wafati, but with less thermal mass. It's more just to keep cool. It's going to have a living roof, kind of like a Viking turf house, but with that, plastic or rubber membrane on the structure to keep it dry. And it keeps with the whole concept of every drop of water that hits the structure needs to go downhill and go away from the structure, because that's the life of wood, is keeping it dry.
Yeah.
So I've got some pretty massive posts. All the posts are 8x8s and 10x10s, and I do have some 16-inch round posts that go in the middle. And so I mean it's a massive timber frame like house. It has to be, because it is going to have about 6 inches to a foot of dirt on top of it
Mm.
as a living roof.
Yeah.
So it's under construction right now. We've got the shell of it looking. It looks more like a house. The shell's not done, but you can see the progress. But it's been a long road, because I had to dig an area and build up, and I did my own road going back. I mean, it's been every bit of it. We bought a tractor, sawmill. I got a shipping container put over there to keep my tractor locked up and everything. So it's been a wild ride, but I've enjoyed every bit of it, because I love doing this stuff. But it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
Milling the lumber for your house and then building your own house. It's a lot of work.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah. So yeah, that's a really unique type of thing. So when you say you don't have any access to the property, so you're saying you had to like cut the road into the property, or did you get an easement, or
Yeah, no. So
how does that
there's
work?
an easement on one side, and then it touches a county road on the other side. Um,
Ah, okay.
but yeah, I guess I should clarify that. As far as access, it's not a locked property, to where you can't get it. It just had literally no road, no way to get. I mean, it was just all pine regrowth on one side, and then the other side has a lot of old growth tulip poplar and pine, mixed in with a few smaller hardwoods.
Ah,
But
okay.
yeah, just it's like it didn't have access. There was no gravel driveway, no nothing. I mean, we went in and put the driveway in ourselves, and just been doing it pretty much. It's raw land, but yeah, there is access. There is an easement on the one side where we're going in, um, and then there is full access on the backside of the property. It touches a county road, but there's a little creek there and a steep hill, so we decided not to build from that side, because it would have been far more expensive to go in there and put a huge culvert and all that jazz.
I got you. I got you. So, how did you find that land in the beginning? Did you go through a realtor, or did you just
Yeah.
find it on Craigslist or something, or
Well,
how'd you find it?
really into the grace of God. I mean, it was we we originally bought a little half acre lot, and I bought it for cash. I found it. I always land shop on Zillow is where I find all of my land deals and stuff. And we looked for we bought that property, but it wasn't that great until it was only a half acre. I mean, there's a lot you can do on a half acre, but it just wasn't for us. We ended up selling it, made a little bit of money, and then we went and bought the 9 acre property. I found it on Zillow, found it, and went through the realtor that was selling it and got a super good deal on it, because the guy who was selling it lived out of state, and it was just all the pieces fell together for us at just the right time, and so it was truly just a godsend, finding that 9 acres. But yeah, I found it on Zillow, and that's normally there's always land for sale on Zillow. It may not be the land that you want or the price that you want, but there's always land on Zillow.
Yeah, yeah. Raw land. So one thing, I was able to find some land through like a Craigslist deal, basically, and it was a piece of land that this guy had inherited from. Well, I think he had bought it from his brother or something, and he was just using it as hunting land, and he didn't really go out there very often. So, kind of found it on Craigslist. And for raw land, I think when I moved out there, there was no I mean, there's actually like a city water hookup. So at any time I could get a city water hookup. But like, what was the situation with the water on your property? Did you guys have to set up some kind of water catchment out there, or how are you dealing with water out there?
So we have access to water and we have access to electricity. It's pretty close. Um, we are wanting, I'm going to use the word wanting, to be completely off grid out there.
Mm-hmm.
That's our main goal. We've thought about different things as far as rainwater catchment and putting in a well. My neighbor just down from me has a well that just produces a ton of water. I think when he got it put in, he said that the guy who put it in said he could run 3 or 4 chicken houses off of it.
Oh wow!
I mean, it is a lot of water. So we're really looking at the option of a well, and then we're wanting to go more of everything as far as electricity goes. Reducing our need for electricity. Okay. Solar drying our clothes, which my wife is kind of like, I don't want to just hang them outside. So I told her, I said, we're going to have a little solar dryer, that's just basically like a tiny little greenhouse that you build, and your clothes go in there and they dry with the sun. Even if it's a rainy day, you can set them in there. It'll take them longer to dry, but they're going to have a spot where they can dry and not be outside. And I guess, smell like outside.
So you're going to make like a laundry kiln.
Like a laundry kiln, exactly. It's basically going to be like a laundry solar kiln. And, just use it, trying to cook as much as we can outside with wood, and then using wood for heat, and using propane in situations where it's not going to be possible to use some type of wood. But the main things we'll be using electricity for is lighting, refrigeration, and some air conditioning. The way that the house is going to be built is going to be super insulated, going to be shaded really well. So we're hoping to not have that much need for air conditioning, but we live in Alabama. I mean, it's probably going to be at one point or another that, and some dehumidifiers, just to get some of the nasty swamp air out of our lungs.
Yeah, it gets to be about 100% humidity for a few months there. It's pretty much like you're swimming in the air. So, what got you interested in sharing with other people on YouTube? And I know it's, for a lot of people, it's a little bit of a thing to put yourself out there in the public and kind of share what you're doing. So what was kind of your inspiration for getting out there and sharing with other people on creating a channel?
So, a few different reasons. One of the reasons being that I just like to share things that I learn and things that I've learned in the past. I do. I think it's human nature to want to, anytime you get a new piece of information, you want to share it with somebody. I think that's just human nature. So being able to share that with people, and I just think I felt like there was a lack of a lot of different subjects on YouTube, stuff that I wanted to see on there. And it's like, well, I guess even though I'm not an expert in this, I guess I am the authority on it because nobody else is talking about it, or there's very few people talking about it. It's not a big enough subject. That being one of the reasons. Another being that, being in homesteading communities, freedom-oriented communities, just talking with people, this world has become so negative. Everything is focused on that. I took a picture of a book that I found in Five Below the other night, and it was called Things That I Hate. And it was a whole freaking journal of you just writing down stuff that you didn't like. It was like, which vegetables do you hate? And what's the, worst time you ever had somebody embarrass you in public? And why do you hate that person now? And I'm just thinking, we have got so addicted to negativity that we need a journal to keep all of our negative crap in. Like, this is getting ridiculous. I mean, society has become so negative, and I find that the people who are wanting to implement solutions like us, sometimes we get caught in talking about, the problems in America, or this, or you're gonna eat the bugs and you're gonna be happy, and you're gonna live in these super cities. And we talk about all this dystopian stuff, and we read stuff like 1984 and stuff, which great books. I'm not crapping on any of that stuff, but we get so caught up in that. It's like, what are we doing right now? Like we can't just take this sitting down. We've got to get something done. And I'm just tired of YouTube feeds being filled with liberal gets destroyed by Ben Shapiro or whatever, and just constant political fights, constant people trying to tear down people's religion, no matter where you're coming from in that space, whether you're Muslim, Christian, Jewish, or some other really Hindu, whatever. Like, people are constantly trying to tear down people. YouTube comments are always so daggum negative. People are just constantly trying to destroy each other. And I'm just like, hey, if we're going to make it and we want to get this dream of being self-sufficient, self-reliant, we want to, homestead, we want to be happy. People, that people, our purpose, I think, in life is to suffer, and through suffering, pursue happiness, And so I thought, I'm going to get a channel, and we're just going to pretend like all this bull doesn't even exist. Like, it's back over here, and we're just done with it. We're going to raise our chickens. We're going to raise our ducks. We're going to grow gardens. We're going to, build houses. We're going to create community. We're going to do these things, and, forget about all of this stuff, because the more energy we pour into that, it's good to talk about the problems. It's good to know, what we need to do to fix them. Like, I'll talk about the problems. I don't mind talking about the problems, but there comes a point, it's like, okay, it's either time to, piss or get off the pot. I can't think of another way to describe it. I mean, you gotta do something. And I feel like there's just too much of this living in YouTube land. I want to, keep my videos as information packed and like, hey, go do this. There's a lot of times in like my coppice and pollard videos, I tell people like, look, this is something you need to be implementing. Watch the videos, learn, but get out there and do it. That's what my goal is. So that's, the main reasons that I started the channel, and two, hopefully to find community, and also as we get our home built and our homestead done, as we bring more people into the community, to have something to say, hey, you want to learn more about this, go check out my YouTube channel. I've got it all over here. Because you can only give so much information to people when you're with them. Right. But, you can give them something that they can go and look at later.
And digest over time.
Yeah, because I mean, like, say I meet you and you say, hey, I'm into homesteading, like, I want to get started in this. I'm thinking about getting chickens. I've never had chickens before. And then in my mind, I'm just like, I need to tell Greg about chickens, ducks, rabbits, about, aquaponics, about, like, I mean, there's all this stuff that I need you to know, but there's not enough time in the day to tell you everything. So we've got to, people who are doing this, we need to be documenting it, and we need to be putting it on YouTube for people. So yeah, that's
good.
The reason why I've started the channel.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of it in that regard, but yeah, you're right. Like, to go out and to try to explain to everybody, like, okay, here's the soil food web. Here's, all the chickens, all the species of animals you need to be thinking about, and trees. And yeah, it's good to have that documented so that, you can kind of give that ready access to anybody that's like wanting to go in this direction. And also, I feel like it is inspirational to see other people doing stuff, and just like you were talking about, we tend to focus a lot on the negative, and maybe that leads to more negativity or more negative stuff happening. But maybe as a people, if we can decide to focus on the positive part of things in life, where we are accomplishing things and becoming more self-reliant day by day, that we will be inspiring others to do the same, and then building, the external world, I think, is a reflection of the internal. And so, the internal, getting yourself to the highest version of yourself as possible, I believe, that affects a lot of the other people around you.
Yep,
Um,
absolutely.
so you're working a 9 to 5. You got a regular full time job, right? And you're also doing all this stuff on the side and putting up
Yep.
all the videos and everything. You got a family. How do you juggle all that stuff, man?
You can't juggle it. I mean, there's no juggling. You just you just you just have to throw the balls up and let them hit the ground, and then pick them back up again, and throw the balls up and let them hit the ground and pick them back up again. Um, so I think I'm gonna try not to go on a tangent on this because I see men being destroyed in this society, and I think the thing that's destroying us is the fact that we have lost purpose, that people don't depend on us, um, that we've got into this complacency of not being active and doing things. So I've never been busier than I ever have in my whole life, but I've never been happier. I mean, it just makes me so happy. I do have a 9 to 5. I really wish that wasn't the case. Now, the place that I work is a wonderful, wonderful place of employment. I do custom cabinets, and I enjoy that work. It's not like my absolute dream job, but it's something I enjoy. I get to go to work and I get to build things. So it's a good job. And work with wonderful, wonderful people. But yeah, doing that and homesteading and building your own house and having a YouTube channel and having a family, it keeps your day pretty packed. But I think that once we put the effort on the things that are most important, nobody's really too busy. There are people that want to go around and they're these busybodies and they just fill their day with so much meaningless crap. I see it all the time. It's just, every minute has got to be full. So they'll fill it full of, just stuff that doesn't matter. I mean, with all that stuff going on, there's times where I get home and if I don't feel good, I get to take a little power nap. And, not many people get to do that because they think that they've got to constantly be busy. So it's just about putting importance on things. Go through and look at, what are you wasting your time on? I think that a lot of people waste their time on people. There's certain people in your life, they may not be trying to tear you down, but they sure are holding you back. And you can't spend time with people like that. You got to have people around you that's going to support you and it's going to move you forward and challenge you. Another thing I think that's wrong with our society nowadays is just how much we poo-poo on men being competitive. It doesn't mean that we got to get up and bang our chest against each other and fist fight every day. It's just like a little healthy competition's good. Like I should see you as somebody that is going to surpass me in certain things, and I want to beat you and you want to beat me and kind of stuff. So there's a lot of stuff with that I think having that balance, man. So that's really how I do it. I just try to be as the natural man that I am, the good things of masculinity. And that really keeps me from, just becoming this big busybody that's not putting the importance on the things that I need to be doing. My family's the most important, and a lot of the stuff like work, building the house, doing the homestead, all benefits my family. So if I'm doing those things, those are the most important. And spending time with them, and then surrounding myself with people that are awesome people doing awesome things.
That's cool, man. Yeah, that is something that I'm kind of got called out for at the recent Self Reliance Festival. Is that I was talking a lot about kind of like, well, I asked a question to John Willis like, what do you do to kind of prevent the negative thoughts that you get in your head? And I know, probably a lot of people kind of have the same thing, but basically what he told me was like, you're bored, man. Fill your life, just like you're saying, fill your life with the positive things that you want to do to accomplish your goals. And, to me, he was like, well, focus on your body first, right? Like get your health and fitness in order. and then from there you're gonna feel so much better about yourself that you accomplished that goal, that you're gonna be able to tackle a lot of the other challenges. Like, and just like you're saying, we have a lot of people in our lives that can hold us down, but yeah, you should be seeking those people that want to push you, because you are great. You can accomplish a lot more than you think of. Instead of spending time on those Netflix subscriptions, or being constantly entertained, like constantly watching videos, constantly be in front of a screen or whatever. Like, focus on some kind of thing that you can do that is gonna either make you more money, or get you to the point in your life where you would want to be, that vision that you have for your life, and that and finding your purpose, spending some time to figure out what your purpose is. So there
Yeah.
there is a lot in that, man. So I like that you mentioned community earlier. Like, is there a point, like, because I had kind of the mentality of kind of going and being the lone wolf for a while. Was there a point that you kind of realized, like, okay, I gotta find more people? Was that kind of what got you into, like, the Freedom Cell network and getting involved with that?
Absolutely. It is. There's a there's a reason that I think some people that get into homesteading and being self-sufficient, self-reliant, they get into this deal about being the lone wolf. And my personality and my male type, if you want to call it Sigma or whatever, they put all these labels on the different male types. That I guess that's what I would be, because I'm kind of a lone wolf. I like to do everything on my own. Slightly prideful, I sometimes don't want to ask for help on stuff. But as far as that goes, yeah, just getting a community around you of like-minded people. The homesteader wanting to do it all on their own, I think, get into this deal of like, oh, I'm a pioneer. I'm going out west, and I'm digging my dugout, and I'm roughing it, and now I'm gonna get all these animals. I'm gonna build this fence, with my bare hands. And the thing is the people going out west, there were a few that were trailblazers, but most of the people, they relied, even though their community might be a little spread out, they relied on other people. It wasn't just everybody out roughing it by themselves. Because I mean, we're not designed like that. Whether you believe we were we evolved, or whether you believe that we were created, we did. We're not meant to be just this lone wolf species. We are meant to have community around us. We're meant to have families. We're meant to be together. We're meant to socialize. It's a huge part of us. And just for one, having like-minded people that can be a support group for you is huge. It is huge, having people that you can talk to them about building your Viking turf house, or about soil biology, or about your aquaponics that you've built. That is huge, about having that community. If it's just for that, it's a great value. But then also, I've seen where people kind of want to get into the just talking about it phase with a group of people. You got to start doing stuff with these people. You got to do projects. You've got to exchange. You've got to trade and learn from each other. There's got to be some action in it, because you can kind of get stuck in that, and then the community's not really serving a purpose other than just the social aspect of it, which is a good aspect of it. Like I said, we really need that as human beings. So yeah, I think I answered your question on that. I think I kind of trailed off there for a minute. I can't remember what the original question was.
Well, just finding the importance in community and finding other like-minded people. I totally agree with you. Yeah. Just meeting to meet and be social is great. It really is great, because a lot of
Wonderful.
times you can feel pretty alone in the world when you're kind of, some would call this an alternative lifestyle, but really I think it's like the way we're meant to live, really.
Yeah.
But also having people to be there to help with projects and like take action and get things done. we've been doing some of these get shit done days where we get together and try to help each other out with different projects and things. So we've been doing that, and then also some of the folks in the group have, had like one of our guys is selling beef to the group, and he's doing grass fed beef and everything. Um, so all that's great, having those connections with folks so that I got a guy, basically it's that old phrase or that old saying. It's like I got a guy for that, so it really helps out a lot. So where did you learn all this stuff about permaculture? Like, did you have some folks that you followed to learn some of these aspects of permaculture, fodder trees, all these things that you're talking about?
Yeah. Yeah. So my journey into permaculture started with what we were talking about before we came on a little bit about Paul Wheaton's 72 bricks. Now, but I kind of found out about him through Joel Salatin, and then I found out about let's see here, Jack Spirko through Paul Wheaton. Because I started listening to Paul Wheaton's podcasts about permaculture and everything, and I started looking at some of Jeff Lawton's stuff, and just really started learning from a lot of different people, and then I became just obsessed with it. There's probably not many videos or books, audio books that have not been listened to on a lot of this stuff. I'm just constantly listening to podcasts and audio books and then implementing what I've listened to, because I think we can get into a state where we're learning a lot about permaculture, but we're not implementing any of the things that we're learning. And then it's kind of just a lot of knowledge that we have up in our head, and we don't have any real experience behind it. And so, and I try to be upfront about that when I'm talking about, stuff, permaculture techniques and, ways to observe things. Like if I'm not, real versed on the topic, like I don't know, I haven't really done it, I try not to, talk about it that much. But yeah, I got into that, and it made so much sense because it all comes from a logical perspective. There's nothing that is emotionally, religiously, or politically charged behind permaculture. It's just hey, destroying the earth is destroying the earth, or this is a good practice. I mean, it's once you observe nature and you get that feedback and you can see the results for yourself, it makes so much sense. But yeah, I got into it mainly through YouTube, audiobooks, and podcasts. There's so much out there, and I always I name drop in my videos all the time of people that I've learned from, because I want these people to go and check these other people out, because that's the cool thing about the permaculture world, is that you'll listen to somebody like Jeff Lawton and you're like, this guy's amazing, and then you'll find somebody else that's kind of talking like he does, and you're like, are they into permaculture? And then you find out they are, and you just find more and more people that practice permaculture and have knowledge that you're not going to find anywhere else. And so, I mean, it is just this huge web of all these different people. But yeah, the way I got into it was through media, and that's the best way to get into it. You're not going to be able to go to your local town meeting and find somebody that's like, I'm the permaculture expert of this town, and like you got to find it through YouTube and the internet, and just listening to podcasts and books. Man, that's where it's at.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be nice if there was a guy that you could go to, your local permaculture guy?
Man, we just need to start it. We just need, in our own towns, just we'll be the self-proclaimed permaculture guru of the town, and everybody can just come to us.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, my child. Here's a book on growing trees.
Yeah. Here's the Trees of Power book by Akita Silva.
Trees of Power. Yep.
So yeah, how did you get your? I was curious about where you got your original ducks and rabbits from. Did you find those locally, or did you have to, go somewhere to get them? Or
yeah. So ducks and rabbits and muscovies in particular, you can find them. Craigslist, get on Craigslist. Craigslist sometimes stinks. I mean, sometimes there ain't that much on there. There's, people just selling old boar goats. I mean, Craigslist can sometimes be a flop. And of course, the grand poobah over at Facebook won't let you sell animals on there, so you can hang that one up. That used to be a really good option of finding animals.
You do animal sales on Facebook Marketplace?
No, that is a big no. That is a big Facebook jail for you, young man. Yeah, they don't like it. There's sneaky ways, and they have groups on Facebook, so you can look through those on certain animals. But the rabbits I found on Craigslist. A guy that lives probably about an hour from where I live had some New Zealand whites. They looked like they were in good condition. He kept breeding records, so I know that I wasn't getting a pedigree or anything, but he had good rabbits. He had good stock. And so I went and I got them from him. The Muscovy ducks came from us hunting for milk goats. So my wife was talking about getting a milk goat. And we went through a friend of a friend and then found out that we knew that woman's daughter, everything was just kind of connected. And she had some Muscovy ducklings. And I told my wife, I was like, oh God, I've been wanting to get into Muscovies for a long time. And she was like, are you wanting to buy them? I'm like, yeah. And so I got them. And they were small at the time, so I had a place to put them. And I was like, well, I got to have, a bigger place to put them in at night. And I was going to let them free range. But I got them just from fairly local people, about an hour away and 30 minutes away. Animals are where you're at. You just got to look for them and, talk to people. Anytime heck, if you've got somebody in your neighborhood or, on your way to work and you see they've got animals outside, heck, even stop and, knock on the door and ask them, be like, hey, look, I'm looking for so-and-so. I saw you have animals. Would you know anybody that has this type of animal or whatever it is? And you can find them. You just got to do a little bit of work to get them.
Cool. Yeah, I was curious about that. Some people I know with chickens you can order them through the mail. Like through the McMurray hatchery and all that, but
they're a good hatchery. I like them.
For other sources, I didn't know exactly where you got that from, but that's cool. So tell me, are other people in your family are they kind of on the same page as you, or are they kind of think what you're doing is a little strange or something?
Oh, well, everybody in my family, we think all of us are a little strange. But no, they do. They like it. They are not nearly as into all this stuff as I am.
Yeah.
But some of my family might be watching right now. I don't know how many people are in the live chat, but there might be some in there. They're interested in it, but they couldn't sit down probably and listen to me talk for this long about all this stuff. I
gotcha. Yeah.
But you're super supportive. It's kind of like well, whatever Logan says, he's gonna do it, and I just get it done. So they are, and I think if people are worried about their family supporting it, as far as if you're an adult and your parents or your siblings or your cousins or whoever don't support it, it's like, nah. The hard part comes in if you've got a spouse, that's not for it, or if you've got larger children, on up to where teenage girls that are like, oh, dad, if you've got that, in your immediate family, it can be a little bit of a problem, because if they're not on board and they don't want to do it, it can be somewhat of a contention of, why are we putting so much time into this stuff? Just go buy it at the store or whatever it is. So I think it's really important to do that. And speaking from experience here, my wife was not 100% on board with all this stuff.
Yeah.
But the thing is homesteading and being, self-reliant, it's got so many different things that you can do. Let whatever it is that your spouse, partner is wanting to do, let them do that thing. If just like I said, I don't care about canning or baking or whatever, but my wife loves that stuff. Let her go. Don't ever try to say like, no, we ain't got time for that. Let them do their homesteading thing, so that way they'll compromise and let you, constantly buy more animals that you may or may not need. You gotta give and take. So yeah, but they've all been super supportive, and my wife is 100% on board. Um, there are certain things that I will throw out an idea, and it just gets a little too wild for her, and then I just have to wait about 6 months until she finally breaks and gives in.
uh, very good advice. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody's been supportive. They've, as far as my family goes, they've been really supportive of everything I'm doing.
Very good. Very good. So, so you guys have some kids. Are you gonna like homeschool your kids or send them to public school? What are you guys doing there?
Yeah, so absolutely homeschool. I think that if any of my subscribers are watching, I might lose some subscribers when I say this. But I think that the public school system is just destroying kids. I mean, it's taking them and it's boring them to death, and it's more of a, hey, memorize all of this stuff so you can pass this test and then come out and go and get a little more indoctrination in college and stuff. We've really lost the will to learn, and think critically. So yeah, my kids will be homeschooled. We've talked a lot about different programs as far as online, of places, and then just doing a lot of like the unschooling techniques of allowing them to learn through cooking or through building something. I mean, there are a ton of skills that you can learn that teach you so many different things like reading, writing, math. It doesn't all have to be from a textbook.
Right.
Now, my wife does have some concerns because she will be responsible for the majority of it, and English is her second language. We only speak Spanish at home, so she's worried about them learning the proper stuff. And I told her that I'll support her, and then too, if we're not an expert on something, there's no shame in when you're wanting to homeschool, letting somebody else who's an expert in that field teach your child. Somebody who's gonna if you're not the best at math, don't teach your children math. I mean, get them a tutor or have an online program. And when I say not good at math, I mean like basic math. I think that algebra is only applicable in certain lines of work. I mean, yes, basic algebra is pretty useful in certain things, but there's a lot of algebra that I learned that I'm like, I've never used that in my life.
Right.
And I was homeschooled too, and so going through the algebra high school textbooks was like, when are you ever going to use this? So yeah.
Yeah, unless
kids
you
will
want to get into
be
like a real
homeschooled.
technical field or something that
Yeah.
some of that math is not necessary.
Yeah. And kids who in high school, it drives me crazy looking and seeing people pressuring these kids, 18 years old. Excuse me. What are you going to do for a career? It's like, these kids, they don't know anything. They don't know what they want to do. I mean, some kids that they know. I mean, there was all kinds of stuff that I wanted to do when I was a kid, and now that I'm an adult, I'm like, there ain't no way. I mean, at one point I wanted to be a meteorologist. I wanted to be a scientist. I mean, there was all kinds of stuff. And I didn't become any of those things. And so, I think it's really important to allow kids to explore and to learn from the real world, and learn to do some basic stuff. I mean, I can't believe that. Well, I can believe it that they would take stuff like home ec out of schools. I mean, that stuff's important. I mean, you need to know how to cook, clean, manage your bank accounts, woodworking. I mean, basic stuff. There's stuff we need to be teaching. So yeah, that's an absolute yes. My kids will be homeschooled. I understand though the way that society has been set up, it has really made it difficult for people to homeschool. I mean, we've had to make a lot of sacrifices for me to be the main breadwinner and my wife not work and us, do what we're doing. So, society doesn't make it hard on people. So I don't judge anybody for, doing what they have to do, but, whatever you can do to, get your children a better education and keep them away from a lot of the crap that goes on in the world, do it. Do everything you can, because that's all you can do as a parent.
Yeah, and I think what we're doing maybe just kind of planting the seeds, being an example maybe for the people that come after us. So, that next generation of humans that are here on the planet, that they're going to be learning from us as examples, and if we're a poor example for them, then that only perpetuates just a work kind of things get going into a worse kind of a scenario. But yeah, if they can be strong critical thinkers with some hard skills that they can fall back on in life, that they'll be more confident, I think, and be able to carry themselves a lot better than most people. Like, I wish I had figured out how to do some kind of entrepreneurial effort or something like that when I was younger. Just not being afraid to fail and say, okay, well, that didn't work. Well, what can I figure out that will work? And, just exercising your mind to be creative in that regard, to be able to support yourself. All right, Logan. I really appreciate you coming on and talking to me tonight. Where can people find you and support you with what you're doing?
I'm on YouTube as Hideaway Homestead, and it's spelled Hyde instead of HID. It's a play on my name. My last name's Hyde. So Hideaway Homestead on YouTube. I'm looking at getting some other social media accounts. The main reason I do YouTube is just because I like YouTube. To me, it's becoming the university of the future, because anything I want to know how to do, I can type it in on YouTube, and more than likely somebody has made a video on it. Now, some of them may not be the experts you want to go to, but most people that get on there and actually have the drive to create good quality content know what they're talking about, their experience. So yeah, YouTube is my main place right now. You can also email me at hideawayhomestead@gmail.com. I've got just a basic Gmail account, and those are the two main ways to contact me. If you wanted to contact me, and have more of a private conversation, you can do it on email. You want to remain anonymous rather than being in the YouTube comments. You can do that. I noticed that there was a channel I was watching the other day that mentioned that, if somebody wanted to remain anonymous, to email me. And I thought, I never thought about that, because, I really don't care. But, if somebody wanted to, they can email me, and I'll be sure to respond as soon as I can.
All right, excellent. Is there anything else that you'd like to leave with folks before we depart tonight?
Yeah. So, Greg, just keep up what you're doing. Great work that you're doing. And anybody out there, I mean, whatever it is that you're wanting to do, just go and do it. I mean, don't wait for permission from anybody. Nobody is going to give it to you. Anybody who, if you're waiting for permission from somebody, then you're never going to get it. Because most of the time people want to shoot you down. So just get out there and do it. Start homesteading. do anything that you can. If it's something small as growing herbs in a pot, or keeping some goldfish on your back porch, whatever it is you can do to homestead and just learn more about nature. Just get out and do it, because it is so healthy for your soul. And I guess I'll just leave everybody with that. Get out and build your soul a little bit.
Well, before we leave, we did get a comment from Leanne, and she asked, "Do your kids help on the homestead, and how do you get them involved?"
Oh, okay, yeah. So,
before we leave, let's
yeah. So, my girls, one of their favorite chores to do around here is to process rabbits. Believe it or not. So they a lot of times hold my organ bowl where I will save like livers and stuff like that, either to eat or to use as fishing bait. And the main reason is because they like money. So they were originally doing it to help. I know my oldest daughter, she just was helping me out, and then I told her, I said, well, I got to pay you for it, because you did some work. And so then here comes the little one running with her mom, because she found out about the money and wanted to help. So getting them started young. Like I know my daughter yesterday, just she was there for the processing of one of the ducks. And, I got to explain to her, just how important it is to raise healthy food, and to, make sure that we're humane to the animals, that we, when we're dispatching them, or, killing them, that it's a quick and painless as possible process. And, getting them involved, I think it's really important to get them involved at a young age, because I really don't know if there's a method for like teenagers. And I think some people get started late in life, and then they've got big teenagers, and it's just really hard. I like one thing that Joel Salatin says. He says it's an old saying. Things are not taught; they're caught. So he talks about, if you're excited about going and picking turnips, then the kids are going to be excited about going and picking turnips. Like you need to be passionate about what you're doing, and that passion will translate and will be instilled in your children. So, but I would recommend young, because sometimes teenagers. I mean, I was one. I know you were one. Teenagers are sometimes hell to deal with.
yeah, you got their own agenda, and
Yeah, which is good. We want them to be their own individuals, but you need to get out there, be excited about the stuff that you're doing, and I think it'll get caught by your children.
Awesome. So, so yeah, Logan, thank you so much for coming on my podcast tonight. I appreciate you being here, brother. And yeah, let's do it again sometime, man.
Yes, sir. It was a pleasure. Always awesome talking to you, Greg.
Thanks, Logan. All right, appreciate you, and hope you have a great night.